There's a lot to do in Skyrim. In fact, there is a total of 270 quests, 91 caves, 29 forts, 23 mines, 21 dwarven ruins, 12 Nordic ruins, 11 camps. You get the picture. There is a wide array of various different points of interest in between, all located within 9 different holds and one little island, and I want to clear it all. But I want to do this with a little caveat though. I will be locked within the holds of Skyrim until I clear each and every one of them. What does this mean exactly? Well, Skyrim never leaves the player's to-do list empty, and at nearly any given point your compass will be filled with all sorts of icons. Everywhere you go there's a quest to be found, things to do, people to see, and I will not be able to leave a hold until I have done everything that the wiki page tells me can be done within that region. Only then will I be allowed to progress on into the next hold, locked in until everything has been cleared. The only exception to this rule will be quests which require me to travel outside of the hold, as that quest will be set aside until I have unlocked the required hold. To make things a little bit spicier, all of this will be done in survival mode, on legendary difficulty. Now, you would think that my starting point would be Whiterun Hold, because of course when you get out of Helgen, you're led right into Riverwood, which is part of that hold. But technically, after you escape Helgen, you're still within Falkreath Hold, and so it is there where the series will start off. Plus, I've been to Riverwood God knows how many times, because of all the new games that I've started. Now, when you escape Helgen, there is a nice little bandit camp located just off the road from the cave that you escape out of, so I took advantage of the fact that Ralof was still nearby and lured them on over to get some help killing them. On legendary difficulty, you're definitely going to want to have someone around to take that heat off you, because if not, you're going to have a bad time. If you didn't know, there is also a nifty little shrine of Talos located just past that bandit camp, and it is here where I found a couple of handy items. The hooded Thalmor robes will sell for a nice bit of gold, as well as a nifty pair of enchanted gloves, which I will probably just disenchant for the experience. So what I'm going to be doing first here is making my way on over to Falkreath so I could get myself a follower, because I'm definitely going to need myself a good meat shield to take the enemy's attention away from me a little bit. And I'll definitely need all of the help that I could get for chipping away at these enemies' oversized health bars. Pickings are slim right now when it comes to followers, but I can pick up Rhea when I become the Thane of Falkreath, so that is going to be my first objective.
How about drink? None of that local piss. Real Blackbriar mead, fresh from Riften.
Now this looks like it would be quite a hiccup, but thankfully there are a couple of Blackbriar meads in the blacksmith's house across the street, which is very convenient. Alright, so while I'm in town, I am a little bit hungry, and thankfully when I was breaking into the blacksmith's house, I noticed that there's a cooking station in there. So what I'm going to do here is make myself a couple of bowls of vegetable soup. In case you didn't know, veggie soup is one of the most helpful items that you could have, as it regenerates your health and stamina by 1 point per second for a little over 10 minutes, and all you need is 1 point of stamina to use a shield bash or a power attack, so that will be extremely handy. I'm also going to make myself an adventurer's backpack, which will give me plus 75 carry weight as well as 20 points of stamina. And now I'm good to go to take on these bandits for the Jarl. And I learned the hard way that the roadside ruins have a Spriggan inside of them, and I am way too underleveled to fight that right now. So I'm just gonna avoid that spot for a little bit until I'm a bit higher level, or at least until I have a follower with me. So I've made it to Knife Point Ridge, and here you get to see in action just how absolutely OP that vegetable soup is, and also why if you'll be trying out melee for legendary difficulty, the good old sword and board is always the way to go. Since I'm getting 1 point of stamina per second, I'm able to constantly bash the enemies with the shield, as well as do the occasional power attack if I need to. Since you deal about as much damage to the enemies as a wet tissue would to a rock, and since the enemies will deal about as as much damage to you as a 50 caliber bullet would to that said tissue, you'll definitely want to keep the enemy staggered as much as humanly possible. What I like to do is do a shield bash and then let out an attack, and every so often I'll let out a power attack. One little trick that I found is that if you do a normal attack and then go in for the power attack, you'll dish out the power attack immediately without having any build-up, which definitely makes for a great 1-2 punch combo. I thought that those 3 bandits were the only folks at this camp, so I got caught a little off guard by these 2, but thankfully one of them were taking a nap, so I used that to my advantage. There was also a mage hanging out here as well, and this is exactly why I chose the Breton class, because that dragon skin comes in clutch on top of that 25% magic resistance that comes with the passive racial ability. So I was just able to tank those lightning bolts. Unfortunately, the recording of me actually winning this fight got deleted, but I got a little more strategic, so I used a bow to get a couple of shots in on the archer before the 2-hand fella noticed me, and then I went into the whole divide and conquer tactical retreat. He was a formidable asshole, but that shield bash just kept him dazed and he kept blocking at just the right times, which let me get in the power attacks to complement it. I really ought to slow it down as I'm going through here, because I almost walked right past another mage. The poor guy just couldn't handle my consistent power attacks though. But oh my god, my jaw dropped when I saw this, because look at the price on that thing. I don't even know if I want to sell it though, because that could actually really come in handy in some tight spots. So I really want to level up right now, but I'm trying to avoid doing that at the moment because I am still under the effects of my vegetable soup, and I only have 2 of them, so I don't want to have to eat another. Okay, note taken, this bandit chief is not messing around. Did I just jump out of the death animation? Well, if this doesn't perfectly sum up Skyrim enemy AI for you, I don't know what does. Eventually, after God knows how many tries, I was able to finally kill this guy, but it definitely didn't take multiple tries with him throwing me into a death cutscene immediately when the fight would start. Alright, so now that I could level up, I'm going to be leveling up my health, and the perk point will go into restoration for good ol' healing. I am so happy that I found this staff because it is an absolute lifesaver. I just need to find myself soul trap so I could keep it charged. The ghost puts in work too, just look at him take out the other dude behind me without any problem whatsoever. Is this staff Creation Club content? I don't even know if I've seen it in the standard edition of the game. Either way, we made short work of those guys. And there is another level up. I swear, these levels come in very quickly on legendary difficulty. The point will go into steel smithing so I could upgrade my armor. Speaking of smithing, I searched all over for a tanning rack so I could get some leather strips, but unfortunately I couldn't find any. I figured I would make a couple of iron daggers anyway. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty upset that I chose to level up because I forgot that I was still under the effects of the veggie soup. But thankfully at least I get my armor upgrade without having to smith it. I'm still probably going to be smithing a different set of steel armor though, because I just love the look of the steel soldier armor from the anniversary upgrade. I guess at least this armor will keep me warm on my trip back to town though. Nice. Okay, so this is a really awesome cherry on top. The room that bandit chief was in is also filled with the Orcalium veins. I definitely would love it if I could smith myself a set of orcish armor, but unfortunately I don't see that happening anytime soon. It would make for a killer upgrade though. Pro tip though, if you want to save yourself some time, just swing at the veins with the pickaxes equipped instead of interacting with them to save yourself some time. Finally, I made it back in town after just completely beelining it through the wilderness. I was a little annoyed though because I wanted to collect as many ingredients as possible so I could train up my alchemy and get some cash, but unfortunately I am fully loaded with items. My first stop is the apothecary, and it looks like my current collection of ingredients is pretty damn awesome, because those are some killer potions. It looks like poverty will not be a problem anymore. While I'm here, I'm also going to take a quick stop by the forge so I can make myself a set of steel soldier armor. I would craft the helmet for warmth, but it does seem like the weather down here is going to be fairly nice. I only really got colder further in the northern parts of the hold. Plus, I do like the extra bit of magic bonus from that hood that I have. Oh, and might as well quickly make all of these iron bars into daggers. Now that that's out of the way, let's just quickly hop on over to the Jarl's Longhouse to turn in these bounties. Nice, that was a little more gold than I was expecting.
However, I could only grant the title to someone who is known throughout my hold. You help my people.
Not gonna lie, I spent way too much time looking for these people to help out. But now I just gotta quickly steal this letter and deliver these ashes, and then I'll only have one more person to help out. I feel very deceived right now because the Wikipedia page told me that I would need to get wheat for this guy, and it confused the hell out of me, so I figured I would just maybe sell him some potatoes and that would trigger his request for the wheat. But I guess that works too. Alright, so there we go, just quickly turn this in, and now we are the Thane of Falkreath. I have never used Rhea before as a follower, but she looks really cool. Now, the Blade of Falkreath doesn't really have any use for me, because I just love shields too much, but I'll just go ahead and hand it on over to Rhea, because she's now my pack mule. Before embarking on my little journey, I also want to upgrade my weapon and shield, so I just need to grab some supplies from our buddy over here. While I was helping out the people of Falkreath, I also picked up a couple of quests, so I'm going to quickly take care of those. It's looking like one of the quests will be sending me into a more snowy region, so while I am here, I'm gonna quickly smith myself a steel soldier helm for warmth. I'd prefer wearing the hood because it looks really cool and I love the added magic, but warmth is really important when you're playing in survival mode. I also noticed that in the Longhouse there is an enchanting table, so I'm gonna quickly stop by there and disenchant these iron gloves. If this guy could just get out of my way, thank you very much. Sweet, and there is a level up as well. Let's just quickly stop by this inn here so we could get that level up, and I'll be putting my point into health because I am squishy, and I'll be putting my perk point into Bonebreaker. That's why my preferred weapon of choice is the mace, because when you put perk points into it, your weapon will ignore some of the enemy's armor, which will definitely come in handy. Now, before I head on over to the ritual site, I did notice that there is a quest right here in town, so I'm gonna make my way on over to the Solitude Barracks and take care of that really quickly. Why on earth do they have this guy just sitting in a cell filled with water? I feel like after you sit in there long enough, it would just completely destroy your skin eventually.
Seek out the beast. He wanders these woods. Bring him down and... well, the Lord of the Hunt should smile on you. I wish you luck, but you leave here while I still have my skin. Should our paths cross again, I will remember your kindness. Farewell.
Oof, okay, well, I definitely don't want to randomly become a werewolf and attack these poor townsfolk, because I'm gonna be hanging out with them for a while, so I want to stay on their good side. I guess I should probably get this quest done as quickly as possible. Okay, so this part of the quest has taken me way too many attempts. Thankfully, this stag doesn't have too much health, but it does have crazy health regeneration and it runs away, which is a big problem. The approach that I've taken is to just try to keep it in a bit of a stagger loop, and I got really lucky on this attempt. Rhea is pretty damn good though, she puts in work with those scimitars. That was probably a waste of stew, but I was getting really annoyed.
Seek out this rogue shifter. Tear the skin from his body and make it an offering to me.
Okay, so it looks like the quest is taking me on over to Bloated Man's Grotto, which is right at the edge, but still within the hold, thankfully. A lot of these quests are bringing me very close to leaving the hold, and that is giving me anxiety. Speaking of the hunt, this poor hunter is just struggling so hard to kill this rabbit. Jesus, he has to be the worst shot I have ever seen in all of Skyrim. Even the rabbit isn't worried, he's just thinking, if he hasn't killed me by now, he probably never will. There you go, buddy. I guess the 25th time is the charm, I suppose. I guess it works out that I ate the stew earlier, because on my way over to the grotto, I am being ambushed by some bandits, and there's not one but two bandit chiefs, and they are some really mean assholes. That freaking hunter's horse though, he's just getting in the way, and I need to be extra careful not to attack the horse because I don't want to get a bounty. I'm not so worried about the hunter getting mad because he couldn't fire a shot to save his life. Helen Keller is a better shot than this guy.
Mercy!
I love how this guy is just begging for mercy, as if he didn't just roll up with his posse trying to kill me. Nah, brother, you asked for this. While I'm on the way, I'm gonna quickly swim on over to the Lady Stone. I'll be sticking with the warrior sign because I do like the extra experience, but I do want to knock this off the list of places to discover. So I did a little bit of research because I'm not familiar with this quest, which I gotta say is actually a really cool quest. And from what I've read on Reddit, I have two choices with two different rewards. I could either choose to help Sending or hunt him, or I could choose to help him complete the quest, rewarding me with the Ring of Hirsine, and then be a naughty little traitor and go back into the grotto and kill him for the Savior's Hide, which I'm going to be doing. Now, I won't be using the Savior's Hide because I'm more of a heavy armor-oriented person, but I do want to try to collect all of the uniques.
Thank the gods. Now let's deal with these other hunters. We hunt together.
You don't even need me, buddy. You got this. Okay, well that's nice. I guess one of these hunters are just freaking invincible. This is actually a pretty interesting quest. I don't think I have ever done this quest before, come to think of it, but that's the good thing about this series. It'll allow me to play Skyrim in its absolute entirety and see everything there is to see. Over the years, I've probably put a solid 1,500 plus hours into the game, but that's been very sporadically throughout the years, and I feel like I've never fully appreciated the game as much as I have with previous games like Morrowind or Oblivion, but I do feel that appreciation slowly starting to creep up on me.
Thank you for your help. I will make my home here, away from anyone I might hurt.
Okay, Mr. Spirit, you are all up in my face, sir. Could you please move? Anyways, there we go. The quest is complete. Now I gotta get the hell out of this place because I feel like I am way too close to Whiterun Hold.
You continue to amuse and impress. Go forth with my blessing.
So I tried to do the bug that allows me to get both the hide and the ring, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to work for me. When I go back to kill him, I only get the option to loot his body, and I don't think the ragged trousers are going to make for a great upgrade. Before I make my way back over to Falkreath, I'm going to quickly make my way on over to the eastern part of this hold so I could complete the Rising Dead quest, just kind of picking up alchemy ingredients along the way and also knocking off some locations from the list. This is weird. This is the second time that I have encountered these stones like this. The first time was when I was ambushed by bandits, and here there is just some dead dark elf just hanging out here. Weird. And there is the Half Moon Mill crossed off the list. Alright, so on the way I discovered my first Nordic ruin, and I figured why not just stop by there and quickly clear it out, see what goodies it has for me. Oh, no, there's a gate. I hope it's not locked behind a quest. Okay, awesome. I feel like I vaguely remember this place from a previous playthrough. Alright, lovely. Vampires. I still have PTSD from my last vampire encounter because I'm also doing a little bare-fisted playthrough on the side, and on that playthrough I found a cave that had a bunch of vampires in it, and man was that difficult. The master vampire was like Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows, just nothing but relenting. This dungeon actually has a really cool design. Now, I am trying to avoid using my stew right now because I am having a bit of a hard time finding ingredients for it. So far though, the enemies don't seem to be all that difficult in here, but I'm probably gonna eat those words later on. What I was trying to do here is trying to keep that skeleton that was fighting me between he and his buddy so I could avoid getting hit by his arrows. That is pretty awesome. I'm getting a lot of enchanted armor right now, and this one in particular could come in handy because I am using heavy armor. I really need to find a bed now. Ooh, this skeleton has brought me a little bit too close to death. Let's just take a little bit of a breather, why don't we? When anybody is near a ledge in a game, my natural instinct is to just try to knock them off. In games, that is, not in real life. It looks like my follower got stuck a little bit further back into the cave, so I'm hoping that if I wait, she'll just reappear next to me. Thankfully, there's only one person in here, so it's an easy fight. I love the shielded enemies because half the time they just sit there with their shield up and they're just waiting for me to dish out a power attack. How considerate. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to let Rhea do the heavy lifting here, because those master vampires can be some major assholes. This is why I love Bretons though, because on legendary difficulty, the damage will just cut your life expectancy down quicker than a suitless spacewalk. I should have used Dragon Skin, but thankfully Rhea just kept them distracted long enough. I don't know if your followers scale with the difficulty setting, but it definitely feels that way because she is just an absolute tank. Pretty solid loot from the chest at the end here. I've been putting all of my points into health so I don't die in 2 hits, so this will definitely compensate nicely for those points that I would have otherwise put into stamina. I don't know what was happening at the end of this ruin, but the room that I was in was laggy as hell. The game would just keep randomly freezing and the audio completely cut out, which was quite frustrating. To make it worse, when I would try to exit through the door at the end of the room, I would find myself caught up in this infinite loading screen. The issue even persisted when I would try to leave the ruin through the original entrance, so instead I had to load back to a previous save and just completely exit the dungeon. That is quality Bethesda design, you gotta love it. Before I took on the Rising Dead quest, I decided to take a quick stop by Falkreath because at that point I was desperately in need of sleep. While I was there, I got a level up and threw my perk point into one-handed damage. Might as well make use of the enchanting table while I'm here, so I disenchanted all of those goodies that I've found so far. Alright, and now we're off to the ritual site. On the way there, the neat freak in me got really annoyed by all of these boulders that are just in the middle of the road, so I decided to quickly clean it up a little bit. If I'm gonna be stuck in this hold for the next god knows how many hours, I'm at least gonna make it look presentable. Along the way, there was a bandit camp that had some goodies in it, including a skill book. After looting the chest though, there was an ambush, but those bandits really did not stand much of a chance against this dangerous duo that Rhea and I have become. This is actually listed on the wiki as an unmarked location, so that is another item that is crossed off the list. There was a slight hiccup as I attempted the Rising Dead quest, and that is that the area is extremely cold. This really highlights the problems that you'll encounter when playing in survival mode. By the time that I was fighting these zombies, and there were many of them, my health was already taken down to about half. Thankfully though, there is a nearby cave called South Fringe Sanctum, which is located right near the ritual site, so I quickly made my way on over there to warm myself back up. There was a spell sword guarding the entrance, and the stakes were pretty high because I had my health limitations, but thankfully she just kept blocking, which allowed me to kill her. I just figured I would climb on top of the brazier and just hung out there for a little bit until my health was brought back up. I figured while I'm here, I might as well just quickly clear this place out. I learned the hard way though that there is a rune on the floor in front of the gate, so I let the spell sword disarm the trap for me. How considerate of him. Venturing further into the cave, I ran across a giant spider, and man was he an asshole. I figured that I could save that for last, so I proceeded to kill all of these spell swords that were hanging out in here. The Breton's magic resistance really shines when taking on the spell swords. As you could see, I just completely eat up their magic attacks. I will never forgive Bethesda for making me kill a cute little fox named Pumpkin though. He was the goodest of boys for defending his buddies, but I'm afraid that I must fight back. There were also a couple of really nice items just hanging out on the table for me. I would have used the mace, but I really don't have any soul gems, and all of the soul gems that I would be using would be for recharging my staff, so I figured that I could just disenchant it. I respect Bashnag for going against the grain and being an orcish spellcaster. Way to go, buddy, you do you. However, he probably would have had a greater likelihood of killing me if he stuck to the Berserker getup. But I admire you embracing your individuality, even if it got you killed. The armor looks neat, but I think it's a little bit too skimpy for this weather. Now, that giant spider was the true boss of this cave, but for as hard as he could hit, his pathing would hit him harder. Not even Rhea was strong enough to tank his blows for the duration of the fight, so I just sat back with the bow and spent about 5 minutes training up my archery. Okay, I feel misled. The wiki page said that this was a small cave, but this place is massive. I met a nice young lady trapped just beyond the spider, so I figured I'd save her life to balance myself out morally after killing that adorable little fox. Now that I was warmed back up, I was able to make my way on over to the ritual site. It is there where I discovered that it was not a necromancy plot at all, and actually just some people shooting a scene for The Walking Dead. If ever there were an appropriate time for me to use my last veggie soup, this would be it. I had to pull out all the stops because holy hell there were a lot of zombies. Thankfully, with the use of my Staff of the Ancestors, a handy cup of soup, Rhea, my deceased grandfather, and I were able to take on this rotting horde and complete the quests. Before concluding the video, I wanted to stop by Falkreath because at this point I have collected a massive amount of alchemy ingredients. But I first stopped by the inn to get a level up, and during that little expedition I had gained 2 level ups. My perk points went into one-handed and alchemy, so my potions will be a little bit more valuable. And man, did those ingredients make for some sexy potions. As you could see, at this point I might as well set up my own alchemy store and just put Zarya out of business. I was almost able to get another level up just by making potions. Those potions that I made are going to fetch me quite a lovely price, and I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time bouncing back and forth between the inn, the general store, and the town's alchemist. At this point, I have to decide what I will be doing with that money. On one hand, I would like to train up my blacksmithing so I could use the orcish bars that I got earlier, but I might also want to consider grabbing a house within the hold so I could have a place to store my items, but I'll cross that road later on in the next episode. And on that note, this seems like the perfect spot for me to conclude this episode. I have made quite a lot of progress towards clearing out Falkreath so far, but we still have quite a way to go. In my time within Falkreath so far, I find that I have a much greater appreciation for this region. I'm glad that I started off here because I really haven't spent much time in Falkreath during my previous playthroughs. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to kill the like button and bring it back from the dead to give this video a necro-like. Do you think that giant frostbite spider would be able to take on that horde of zombies? Let me know in the comments. I will look forward to seeing your response, and I will see you later. Until next time.